Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about comps, market reports, and how to use two of the main tools in order to do that. If we do have some time, I can go over LIBOR afterwards. If not, I will do it next week, just given I think this is going to take a little bit of time. So, again, first we'll kind of talk about why comps are important, how to run building or neighborhood closed comps in OLR, how to run them in Urban Digs, how to do market reports for all five boroughs in OLR, and on Urban Digs, how to do market reports. Market reports can only be pulled from Manhattan or Brooklyn in Urban Digs. And again, then how to do infographics from Urban Digs, right? And I think, again, why the comps? I use the term comps all the time. Comp stands for comparables, right? We're looking at, different things about why properties should be priced the way they are based on other properties that have sold. When an appraiser comes in and they pull comps, right? They're doing it because they want to make sure that the bank, in giving this money, isn't going to just immediately lose all their money because someone is overpaying for a property, right? At the same time, when you're working with a buyer, they might say, "Oh, how much is this worth? What do you think about this?" And the easiest way to find that is to see what else is sold first in the building, then in the block, then in the neighborhood, then in the borough, then out from there. But again, usually we don't have to go that far. Again, to verify pricing for offers, to price a listing, right? We can use these same comps to say, okay, your neighbor's home sold 2 months ago for this, yours is worth this, given the market conditions, right? And also just to get general market insights. And again, part of the reason we want to be able to do this is so we can effectively talk to anyone, be it a potential buyer, seller, whoever it is, about what is actually going on in the market, right? And you only know that by knowing what has closed, right? The listed price is important, but that's not the whole story, right? That just means someone's aspiring to get that price. What they actually get could be higher, could be lower, right? So if something goes into contract, you can't assume that they got that price. You can't assume that it's below, above, whatever it is. You need to find out. Now, one thing that's a little bit difficult with closed comps in New York City is that most of the time it takes about 3 months for the closings to be recorded, right? New York City records closings for condos, single and multifamilies. And as of 2006, they started recording co-op sales, right? Prior to that, they were not actually recorded anywhere. So those are now sent to the Department of Buildings, they're recorded. And when that happens, then they become public record. And that's what most of these databases are built off of. Again, with different tools that we have, you can sometimes get a sense of what something's in contract for. For instance, when you close out a listing in OLR, you have to put a confirmed sale price. When you close out a listing in StreetEasy, you have to put the sale price as well. So sometimes you'll find the actual info on those two websites before they hit public record, which again is what both these databases are usually searching. So, okay. So we're going to start with OLR, right? So again, anyone who's on REBNY, you have an OLR account. And we're going to go over how to pull closed comps in OLR. And again, the way that I do it. So again, I'm going through what the steps are, and we're going to actually do it so you can see it. So we select reports, we select closed sales, you put in the neighborhood or the building, right? Again, if we can, right, if it's a 300 unit building, we probably want to start with just that building. If we don't find enough recent comps, we might have to expand it out. You put in the price range. Again, why do we do that? Well, in Greenwich Village, a one bedroom could sell for 400,000 or 4 million, right? And so you want to kind of keep it in the same vein. Date range, right? The functionality of the system is that you could put 12 months, you could put 36 months, you could put all time, right? You can kind of play around with that. And again, there are probably many times where you want to be a little more specific, right? What is the ownership, right? If you're looking at a closed comp for a multifamily building, you want to select multifamilies. If you're looking at something for a walk-up co-op, you want to select walk-up co-op, right? If it's a doorman building, you probably want to select doorman, right? Because there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of potential closed comps. And so you kind of want to look at that. And again, if there's too many still, you can go to apartment features, right? There are certain things you can kind of put in, play around with, and take it from there. So I'm going to exit out of the presentation, and we're going to go into OLR, and we're going to do this, right? So here's the homepage of OLR, right? In the middle here, there's a nice tab that says reports. And again, we're going to click on the first one that says closed sales. Here we go. Now, again, OLR can be used for all five boroughs. So let's pick a building, right? Cindy, what's the place you have in contract? Let's just see let's pretend we're running comps for that.
Yes, 2 South End Avenue.
2 South End, and we start typing it in. There we go, and it's going to come up, right? So again, let's say we just want to figure out what has sold over the last 12 months in that building, right? We can just do that search. And again, we can pick the number of rooms, right? Remember, a room as defined by these systems is a bedroom, a living room, a kitchen if it's separate. It is not a bathroom. So again, if you have a 2-bedroom, right, that's at least 3 rooms, right? There's a living room. If there's a separate kitchen, it's 4 rooms, right? So we can do it that way.
A kitchen, is it separate if it's open concept?
If it's open concept, it's not separate. So if it's open, it would be, again, if it's a loft, it's 1 room.
Oh, okay.
So bedrooms, again, rooms is different than bedrooms, right? Again, oftentimes I'll leave these open. Again, maybe I'll say, okay, if it's a 1.5 bath, I only want 1.5 baths, right? Whatever it is. And again, in this case, let's just do, and again, the first one is the minimum, the second's the maximum. So I'm going to do only 1 bathroom things at 2 South End Avenue, right? For whatever reason I'm doing this. And I just hit search. So it's going to zoom in on the building, and then I scroll down a little bit, and what it's going to give me are the properties. And again, I put in over the last 12 months, right? Mm-hmm. So these are the 9 records of closings of things with 1 bathroom, right? I left the bedrooms open at 2 South End Avenue, right? So what we can see here is a listed price and a sold price, right? We can see a sold date. WOM means weeks on market. APPSF, approximate price per square foot. And again, if you hover, it'll tell you, and there'll be actions, right? So again, here we can see that these have been verified in Acris, right? That's what that little symbol there means, right? If it happened to close, and again, let's say Cindy's closed next week, she recorded it, it would show up here with the number, but it wouldn't have that little thing until it records. Again, typically it takes 3 months from closing date for everything to be filed with Acris and everything in the system. So there can be a little bit of a lag. Now, one thing you can also do, again, let's say something just closed yesterday and you can't find the closed price on it, right? Or you know it's closing, call the broker, right? They're often open to telling you what it is, right? As a reminder, things that are in contract, and again, as a seller's agent, your fiduciary responsibility is to the seller. So let's say something's in contract and they don't get board approval or it doesn't close for whatever reason, right? Because things like that can happen, if you have something in contract, you should never give the contract price to anyone except for me and Michael, basically, right? And the reason for that is, let's say it falls off, you can probably get a different number, right? It could be higher, it could be lower, it could be better, right? And again, I'll use an example. Eunice and Stephanie had a listing, went into contract at a certain price. They had board issues. They put it back on. They increased the price, right? Because there's so much interest. And they're actually going into contract for an even higher price than the last contract price. Now, if they had given that to anyone, they might have said, okay, we'll pay that for it, right? But instead, they were able to get a higher price because they never disclosed it. So, okay. So, again, what can we do with these, right? We can do a number of things. Okay, let's say we just want to pick the 1 bedrooms. I can select. Right? I'm just going to do the 1 bedrooms. And I can download them. I can print them. I can email them. I can add to a closed sale record, right? I can look at the pictures and all that stuff. I can go to selected items, right? And again, these are the 6 I picked. And look what it does. It does some nice stuff, right? So the approximate square footage is 631, listed price, sale price, right? So again, and they give you an approximate price per square foot. So again, if I'm going to talk to a seller, and I believe the market's, let's say, stable over the last year here, then I can say, here is everything that's sold in the building over the last year. I think we should price it X, right? That's part of our job. If you have a buyer who's looking in the building and wants to put in an offer, right? It's never our job to actually, to give an offer and to suggest what the number is, but we give them information to base their offer on, right? So in this case, we could say, hey, the price range was between, the sold price was between 665 and 530 with an average price of 562, and it was about 892 per square foot. Therefore, if you use that price per square foot, this is the number that would come out, right? So again, if we
is one of them way higher than the rest of them?
Yeah, one's higher. And why? It's a bigger maybe it has outdoor space. Who knows?
It's probably more updated.
Could be updated. You never know. So again, we the nice thing is you can click on these. You can see all the photos. I'm not going to do that now, but you can do that. So if I go to download, it's going to create a CSV file, so an Excel spreadsheet that I can share. I can also print it, and it puts in this little thing. You pick map listing agent if you want. Again, if you're sending it to a customer, maybe just the map. Obviously, we don't need the map because it's the same building. I didn't actually click on that, but I'm going to. And again, we can then have this. We can print it out, and it will give it to them. Right? I will let you try it out. You should do it now if you save time. I'm not going to send it to you. You can do it yourself. So again, it will take a minute, but this will create something that you can use, right? In the same way, let's say we have a buyer who's looking to purchase in Battery Park City, and they want to get a sense of what's close, right? So instead of putting the building, I'm just going to put Battery Park City, right? Same thing, right? Let's just do 1 bedroom. So I'm just going to do that 1 to 1 bedroom, right? Last 12 months. You can search again, right? We had 6 from 2 South End, and in Battery Park, over the last year we have 65, right? It's quite a lot. So what can we do? Well, we can refine down certain things. We can we can go to more filters. We could say, okay, we only want things with outdoor space, right? We can do a bunch of different things to try to kind of make it maybe a little bit more easily relatable. We could also decrease the number of months, right? We could say, okay, if there's that many for the year, what if we just do 6 months, right? Because that's going to give us a better sense of the market, right? So again, 25, right? What if we say the last 3 months, right? We can do that too. There you go. And what about the last 30 days? What's most recently closed? There you go, right? So 2 have closed. And again, very different price per square foot. 200 Rector is one of the nicest buildings there. 350 Albany leaves a little to be wanted, let's say. So, so again, and that's reflected in the price per square foot. So all of these details can be played with. And again, you can click on these so you can see, okay, why did this one sell for 833 a square foot? Well, because it's a little dated, parquet floors, original finishes from the sponsor, versus 200 Rector, right? Which is larger with a balcony. Again, I don't know what that was, but anyways, so that's kind of how you do it. So that is OLR for comps, right? And again, reports, closed sales, you can look in there. Okay, so let's go back to. We're going to now go into Urban Digs, right? So in Urban Digs, what we're going to do, and again, anyone, you guys can all have a free 2-week trial of Urban Digs. Urban Digs works only for Manhattan and Brooklyn. And so you have to be working one of those boroughs in order to have access to it. From us, we can give you an account or you can share an account. So there you'll put search listings, you pick your borough, again, you only 2 options, neighborhood or buildings, price range, size, closed, and potentially again, select advanced search options, right? Let's go back. So this is Urban Digs, right? So here on the left, I'm going to go to search listings, right? So Manhattan, neighborhood. So let's do the same thing, Battery Park, right? And again, we could put a price range. Again, these are all optional. Let's just do the same thing where it's 1 bedroom, 1 bath. 0 to 1. So we're doing.
That's one of the things I didn't notice was the slider.
Yeah, you can slide that.
It down to the bottom.
Yeah. So again, select property type, right? Do we just want condos? Do we want co-ops? Again, I'm just gonna do condos. That's what we're looking at. We could just do everything too. Okay, so here's where we have to change things. So what we want to hit is closed, right? Because we're looking at, again, Urban Digs, you can also look up properties. In this case, we want to look at what's closed. And again, we can then pick the date range, right? So starting a year ago, let's say, right? So what has closed over the last year in Battery Park City, according to Urban Digs? 73, right? And again, we have studios in here too. That's why the number is different than OLR. It's not letting me do just one bedroom. So again, they'll have information in here, right? And we can, from here, we can select ones that we want to save, right? And then we can do the same thing, right? We can share them, we can save it to a watch list, we can create a CMA from here, right? So if you want to do that, you can click on create CMA and the system will kind of go through and do it, right? Again, CMA is going to look at a lot of more details, right? It's going to look at closed, active, in contract, off market. It's going to kind of be a little more robust than just talking about finding comps. Again, we're going to look at the closed deals, right?
Oh, why not do CME? Was there no way to do that?
Sorry, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Then you can do a market report from there. Yep. So I just want to go over like the two basic functionalities of both, and then the infographics in UrbanDigs as well. So again, we can do this. We can save what we want, and as you select listings, right, it's going to change all of these based on what we selected, right? So let's hit select all visible, right, or load all, right, and then I can select all visible, which is going to be all 73, right? So this is right. What was the average price per square foot? The median, the average price, the median price, the average monthlies, the median size, days on market, and discount. Discount means how much off of the listing price did they have to go to get it into contract? Or, sorry, that's wrong. How much off the listing price did they have to go between the listed price, the last listed price, and the sold price? And again, from here, we can export it to an Excel. We can export it to a PDF, right? And it makes a nice little, see what it looks like. And we can also share it, right? We can email it with a customer or client directly. I like to make sure I like the report first, so I always download it. I don't have downloaded yet. Did not yet.
Do you like save it?
Yeah, I save it and then I send it as an attachment. If you share with client, it will basically give them access to UrbanDigs and they can like root around it.
Yeah, I don't like to
So,
get them
Which do
confused.
you prefer using the OLR or sharing rather the OLR?
It depends on. To me, I like the look of the UrbanDigs one a little bit more, but for some people, the simplicity of the OLR one is better. Again, we have options. It's kind of a nice thing. So, okay, here we go. And again, this is kind of what it looks like. Right. So a year ago, gives all that sold data. And then the nice thing, it's all branded to me too. Right. So here are the ones we selected. And again, it's all 73, a little update, right? And they can actually click on this if you send it to them and go back to UrbanDigs and kind of see the listings and whatnot. So
You can send both if hers are close enough. It's not confusing.
it's probably overkill to do both because they should be feeding from almost identical data, but I usually make a selection, right? If they're someone who I think would react better to this kind of look, I would do that. If they just want to know the numbers, I send it from OLR. Again, that's my personal preference. You guys can find out kind of how you like to do it and how you want to send it, right? And again, just as a reminder, just to go back, we can do the same thing for houses, right? So let's say we want to know townhouses and again, townhouse means single, multi-family, whatever it is. That sold, right? We're going to do closed. We're going to do a year. 19 houses closed, right? I can select all visible, right? I can do the same thing. I can share, I can download, I can create the CMA report, right? And again, see what has sold with everything. Same thing for houses. Again, in UrbanDigs, Manhattan and Brooklyn only. In OLR, you can do it for all 5 boroughs. Anyone have any questions about those two parts? Okay, so I'm going to move on to a full market report, right? So OLR and UrbanDigs both have ways to create a general market report that you can use, again, to share information with a prospective buyer if they're looking in a certain neighborhood. Amanda has a buyer in Harlem. What's going on in Harlem? Takes out specificity of buildings, what closed and all that, and it's saying what's happening on a price per square foot basis, inventory basis, whatever it is for wherever they're looking. So again, if someone's like, oh, what's going on in Soho? You can answer that, right? So again, we go into reports, market pulse, neighborhood, or you can do market stats. You can do either size and then update stats. So again, we're going to go through this, right? So again, same place, basically everything's in here. So Again, you can run a CMA report directly from OLR. You can do CMA from, we're not going to get into that today, but we're just going over how to do the searches, but I can click on OLR Market Pulse. Right. The nice thing about OLR is you can also do this for rentals, right? So if you're doing rental comps for someone, you can do it in here as well. So again, we could select that. We're just talking about sales today. Manhattan. We can also pick neighborhood. So again, you can do it for all of Manhattan. You can do it for, let's just say Greenwich Village. Let's stay on that one, right? And when do you want the data from, right? Do you want it from this month? Do you want it from the last 12 months, right? Again, depending on how specific or how broad you want to be in the data that you're generating, right? So what's happened with, again, let's say they're looking for a 2-bedroom, right? What's happened with the price of 2 bedrooms, in Greenwich Village, right? This is what's happening, right? It gives you a sense of what's sold, how many things are on the market, right? How many new listings there are. Well, let me make sure that should have picked it up. What price drops there are, days on market, average price per square foot, median, right? You have all this data, right? So what can we do, right? Well, we can screenshot this and add it to an email that we send out or mass email that we send out to Greenwich Village. We can give this to a potential buyer that we have to let them know what's going on, right? In the same way you can turn this into a table, right? Where you can just print it out, send it to someone, right? We can preview it, we can export it, we can download it. Let's download it so you can see what it looks like. And like Urban Digs, it's going to like brand it for you, right? So again, this is Market Pulse, Greenwich Village, when it was prepared, right? Here's all the data, right? So at any given moment with OLR, you can pull a neighborhood specific market report in like 2 seconds, right? It's great. It's a really, really great tool that we have. You can do the same thing for Brooklyn and Manhattan in Urban Digs. And again, which one you use depends on whichever one you like. It doesn't make a difference to me. Again, it's really about personal preference and stuff like that. So again, going back here, just to show you guys, there's also market stats, right? This is a little broader. And again, you saw that was like a 2-page report that I just created by doing that. You can create like full market reports in here, right? Which are like crazy robust. It's a lot of data. So again, you pick your neighborhood. We're just going to stay on Greenwich Village. Right. So there's our neighborhood. We hit submit. What do we want it? Let's do last 12 months. Right. Do you want sales, rentals, or both? Let's just do sales. And what kind of buildings do we want? Right. Again, we can pick everything if we just want to market wide. I'm going to run the report.
Oh, that's pretty. That's not.
Yeah, it's not Greenwich Village. But again, what you can do is you can add information in here. It goes through their methodology. It goes through market. Again, it's like a very, so over the last year, again, this is 1,000 sales happened in Greenwich Village over the last year. The average price per square foot was 2,000 per square foot. The average sold price was 2.1. The median 1.26. Again, what's going on with everything, right? So discount, days on market, right? We can do this. You can add your own text in here as well, right? So again, if you have someone who's extremely savvy and they're like data driven, you can like create, and again, you saw that took me like 30 seconds to do. So it's a very robust tool because it's just pulling all the data from you. But again, you can also just do, again, if you just want to do condo sales, we could do the same thing, right? We basically could do the exact same thing just for condos. And it's going to totally change the way the report looks. And we're doing the same thing last 12 months. So again, here, that's grammar. That's Gramercy Park. I don't know where that's from. But you can delete them. And again, you can save this as a PDF. You can take out all the pages you don't want. You could send this as an attachment on an email, right? Again, it's like way lots of data. Figure out how you want to use it, right? That's the whole thing. Some people want the full report, right? Other people, we're just talking about 1-bedrooms and what we should price it at. Let's do it this way, right? And again, the CMA will also go into that. We'll do that next week as well. But again, it's a super duper simple and easy way to get some market info. And then we'll go back into Urban Digs to do the exact same thing, right? Chart room, you select your borough, the neighborhood, property type or not, size, closed sales, advanced search options, right? So it's pretty similar. Again, chart room is here on the left, right? So again, we're going to do Greenwich Village, right? Property types, do we want condos, co-ops, or everything? Let's just do everything. And then bedrooms, same thing. Right? And so what we can do is we can click through these, and again, there's tons of stuff. So we could do closed sales from here, right? For Greenwich, I think it will open for Greenwich Village. But again, so here you go. So this is what's happened, right? Right. So what was the price per square foot, the median sale price, right? You can pull all these, and you can use each piece of information separately. You can also create a report to send to people, to give to anyone that you want to. Again, the other thing it gives, and again, if you go to leading market indicators, right, the optimal time to list, right? And this is going to change based on the property type. Again, this is a really great tool if you're talking to someone about when to list their property that you think you're going to get the listing for, right? You can say our analytics tool, which is very spot on, says that again, if we have a 2-bedroom condo in Greenwich Village, the best time to put it on the market is X, right? That's not to say it won't sell if you put it on another time, right? You never want to discourage someone if they say, I want to list it now. You don't have to tell them this. But again, this is saying for the 2-bedroom condos, January is the best time to list, right? And again, we can change this around based on what we're looking for, right? So Manhattan, Greenwich Village, 2-bedroom condo, let's do a 4-bedroom and see what happens, right? And it's going to give us a chart, right? So
what is that expression you just used to say the client based on
our analytics tools,
okay,
means anything like that, yeah. And again, sometimes the sample size is a little small, right? This is how many sold, and again, there's not a huge difference. You know, it was pushed back a little bit because nothing was listed in February. It looks like 2 point something sold in January. So that's how they kind of create these. But you can play around with all this information and this data and we can go like this, right? Sorry, we can generate the report. You can, again, let's say, oh, I don't want to tell her that, and I don't care about these, right? Everything is customizable. Share this report. Oops, let's generate it. Sorry. Sharing it is if you save a customer in here, you can just send it to them.
So you don't like sharing.
A third-party site. It's like, again, I always like to
Right.
have it come from me.
Like
So
yeah, big dynamics.
and again, this is a really quick thing where, let's say you have someone who wants to know about how long things are taking to sell. You can give them this, right? There's a lot on here, and again, there's like way too much data. So just figure out what you like and what works for you and what works for the story that you're trying to tell. Any questions about this?
crafting a story.
Crafting the story, exactly. Okay, so the last thing that I want to cover today is Urban Digs and infographics, right? Urban Digs has, I think, one of the best features where you can create what's called an infographic, which basically takes data and puts it in like a nice little like package for you so that you can use it on social media. You can send it on mass emails and things like that. And it's like way easy to do. In the same way, we always want to create a story based on why you're sending something. And so the data is fungible as data always is. Fungible. So,
Yes.
okay. So again, we're going to go back to the home screen in the dashboard on Urban Digs. And again, as you can see, there's like way more features. You can run a CMA, you can do a pricing report, you can do all these different things. We're not going to go into all of that today, but again, you can play around with it. And there's like way too much data. So again, if we go to infographics generator here, I'm going to click there. And what it has is 5 different templates that are auto-generated by the system and kind of put the data in like a very digestible way, right? So I find that the 2 that I use the most are the quick market snapshot and the weekly market, right? So again, let's start with the market snapshot. So we pick our borough, let's say Manhattan, and we're going to keep going with Greenwich Village, right? Are we talking about new developments or resales, right? So again, a new development is something that was built over the last 5 years. right? When there's a lot of new developments in a neighborhood, it tends to skew numbers, right? Because new developments compete against each other. There's sometimes competition with, again, if you buy a new development that was built 10 years ago, people who are looking are probably looking at things that were built in the last year or two. So it's going to kind of change things up. So market wide is everything, new developments, and resale means it sold 5 years ago from the developer, right? So that's the
Or it could
differentiation
be
there.
pre-war resale too.
It could be pre-war and resale, totally. So again, I'm going to do market wide just to keep it simple. And again, I'm going to do all property types, right? So we're basically generating a chart of what's going on in the market in Greenwich Village, right? For December, right? And again, what is it in Greenwich Village? A seller's market. And this graphic that's created is a really great thing that you can send in a mass email to send to people to say, hey, it's a great time to list, right? Because Urban Digs is telling you, it's not just me telling you, it's Urban Digs telling you, right? Supply is down, sales are up, negotiability is down, so that's good for the seller, right? Days on market is down, stuff is going to contract quicker, median sale price is down. I don't know why that's a crazy number that it's down. It shouldn't be down that much, but
34%.
but that's across all property types, I guess. So again, but conditions are from sellers more. So if you have a buyer who's looking in Greenwich Village, would you send this to them?
No.
Probably not, right? Because what is it saying? Oh, you're going to get, not have a good time when you're putting an offer. So here we can download these, right? And again, I'll show you what this looks like. And you can kind of send these out to people as attachments on an email. You can post it to your social media accounts, put it on LinkedIn, do whatever you want with it. But it basically saves it as a JPEG.
That is a good point. What if the reports you're generating aren't favorable to the client? Do you just not send that?
You can send, I would send it just because you are their resource for market knowledge and you need that information because even if they're a buyer in a seller's market, they at least need to know that information in order to put in like a competitive offer, let's say.
Right.
Totally. And again, if this came up that it was like a way of a buyer's market, I wouldn't send this out to a seller, right? And so again, what we can do is use all the different graphics, right? So I can go back into edit and go back and let's say, okay, what's the market report, our weekly market report, right? What does that say about what's going on in the last month in Greenwich Village, right? So supply is down, right? Which is good for seller, right? Contract signs up, good for seller. Off market, up, doesn't really matter. And there's me, right? So again, this is another one that would be good to send if you're for the seller and things like that, right? Now, again, if you say, oh, I'm working with a buyer, right? What should I be sending to them in this market that seems to be unfavorable, right? What about the 3 charts every buyer should see? Same, I mean, exact same info, right? Manhattan, right? Still a seller's market. Leverage survives this weekend. Things are going into contract. It's been more active than usual for this month. And negotiability is less discounts, right? So again, like Cindy said, you want to give your buyer information, but they need to know what's happening in the market, right? Again, when you're working with someone, again, let's say they're looking for a 2-bedroom in Greenwich Village, right? If there's only 3 things on the market and 2 of them have accepted offers, what is that telling you about the market, right?
Yeah.
So what it does is it gives you ammunition to make sure that the buyer knows of the market conditions more than anything else, right? So it's really just to give them information, right? And again,
You can drive a sense of urgency in that market and tell them we need to be on top of things. And
if you see something you like, let's go see it. For me,
Right, because it's a seller's market.
yeah, so you need to really be on top of it and get a little bit aggressive, maybe.
Yeah.
and I think the other thing that you can do is and the way I do it when I'm working with the buyer, I say, again, I always diffuse everything from the get-go, right? Because people are like, oh, I don't want to waste your time. Oh, I don't want to, but I say, you're never wasting my time if I take you to see stuff because it gives me a better sense of what the market is that's out there. Number 2, and again, I say this to everyone I work with, I promise you, I don't care if you buy in a week, a month, or a year, or 10 years, right? I tell my customers that work for 10 years, still haven't bought anything. I want to be the agent that you refer to your friends and family and that you trust through your life of owning in New York City. So there's never going to be pressure on me to put in an offer or anything like that. I just want to provide you with information that helps you get the apartment if you find the apartment that you want. And that's it. And that diffuses it. in my opinion, and it shows that I'm on their side, right?
Yeah,
So I think that's always helpful to do.
yeah,
Again, even though we have this market, I just want to let you know so that if you see something you like, you're going to have to act quickly, right?
yeah.
Again, I can tell you in most parts of Brooklyn that we work, things are getting multiple offers, first or second weekend. So what does that mean? You have to be prepared if you really see something you like. Doesn't mean I'm telling you to put in an offer. I'm saying if this is the one for you, you need to be ready.
Yeah, yeah.
Any questions about this? So again, you can.
And then the response to, oh, okay, then I'll just wait.
Sorry.
What's the comeback then? Okay, when at this particular moment for Greenwich Village for a buyer, it's like, wow, okay, then I'll wait. I'll wait till it's more favourable.
That's like a mindset
Yeah,
kind of question. So, you want to know, well, what is your reason for wanting to wait right now?
Wait, do you need to move? Are you paying rent? Okay, well, let's factor in that pricing into it. Again, there's a lot of things. Usually people, if they're like, I want to move, they're going to keep looking. If there's nothing in their price point, that's a different story. But if there are things out there, and again, maybe if it lists, again, in a crazy market for 500 and it's going for 550, then knowing about that in advance is helpful. Awesome. Does anyone have any questions about this stuff? Zach or Celeste, anything?
Will we get the recording after?
Yep, I'll send it out.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop this recording. Thank you guys.